the next thing you know, our Earth is in shambles. This would be the end of the only planet us humans have ever lived on, but through the exploration of Mars, a revolutionizing possibility has been presented to us. All of us here at NASA can be the reason for the longevity of humankind. Now, many of you may be thinking that this isn't possible in our lifetime, and you quite possibly might be right. However, the next generations of your bloodline are at a very high risk of becoming as irrelevant as anyone else on this planet will be once there is no way to support human life. Today, I will walk you through the uprising of space exploration of our neighboring planet Mars through the MARS approach. M for mission, A for the ability to sustain life, R for rover, and S for soon. Let's start with M for mission. Taken from the journalist Elizabeth Howell, an obtainer of a Master of Space Studies, the mission of exploring Mars has been happening ever since the 1960s. The arguably most important satellites to have reached Mars at the beginning of the exploration are Viking 1 and Viking 2. These were the first satellites sent into orbit as part of the extended exploration of Mars. The satellites arrived on the surface of Mars in 1976, and their purpose of this mission was to find life on the red planet. Now, as you can tell, both of these satellites are identical from one another, and each satellite is equipped with probes to help identify if there are any signs of microbe existence on the surface. Both of them conducted 3 biology experiments to look for signs of life. However, they were not definitively able to prove that there is life on the planet. It remains controversial whether or not the results are valid as science becomes more and more understood about microbial activity. This is a continuous exploration of the surface of Mars, and in 2004, Spirit and Opportunity were intended to find rocks and soils that would lead to clues of water on Mars. Luckily, both found evidence that water once flowed on Mars at one point or another. Both rovers exceeded their 90-day mission, as Spirit had its last contact with Earth in 2010 because it got stuck on Mars due to the severe sandstorms causing disruption in the communication between the rover and our employees here at NASA. Opportunity is still hard at work trying to help us gather more information about Mars, but now we will move on to A for the ability to sustain life. What qualities does Mars obtain that leads us to believe we can send humans to live there one day? From data published in 2018 by an Earth and Space planetary scientist, it is found that Mars's atmosphere could have enough molecular oxygen to sustain life. Since the atmosphere doesn't allow for pure water to exist, its extreme temperatures will allow for salt water to exist. Salt water, or brines, would have to absorb oxygen, allowing the brines to carry oxygen throughout the planet. This would provide the sufficient amount of oxygen to sustain the human respiratory system. Now, we're halfway through our approach, and let's examine R for rover. Let's talk about the history of rovers as we have already sent to Mars and why its information is important to us. There are currently 4 rovers on the surface of Mars. The one we are most concerned with our purposes is Curiosity. Curiosity is our largest and most capable rover ever sent to Mars. It was launched in 2011 and it has been collecting data ever since. Curiosity's main objective is to identify the habitable conditions that Mars possesses. Curiosity has also made a huge step in our space exploration on Mars. Its ability to land large objects on the Mars terrain will allow us to use that in the future to allow large objects carrying humans on the Mars terrain. Now, we can also land more precisely. This will allow us to send our humans to a specific location on Mars. That way they have the resources available to them to live. And the ability of long-range mobility to study the environments and samples found. Finally, S for soon. what's coming up for our exploration of Mars and the possibility of moving the human species to our neighboring planet. By now, you should understand that there is a great possibility for us to construct a habitable area for our next generations to live on Mars. Even though we might not be living on Mars within our lifetime, it is absolutely critical that we collect information about this planet. This year, in 2020, we will send a new rover to Mars to gather knowledge and demonstrate technologies that addresses the challenges of future human expeditions to Mars. This rover will test procedures created to produce oxygen, identifying subsurface water, characterizing weather, and so much more. With all of this information, I want you to think about your grandkids, your great-grandkids, and your great-great-grandkids. Not only will our findings here at NASA be groundbreaking and gain publicity for the United States of America, but for the people around the world. The exploration of Mars is today, but the move to Mars is tomorrow, for the next generation and your family to experience and your legacy to live on. From the MARS approach, the information about the missions, the ability to sustain life, the rover history, and the soon aspect of March has allowed you to get an all-encompassing information about what the exploration of Mars means for humans. Now, you're probably thinking, so what does that mean for us here at NASA if we're already implementing that type of research? Well, I want to remind you, here at NASA, we uphold our mission statement as explorers, pioneers, and innovators. We boldly expand frontiers in air and space to inspire and serve America and to benefit the quality of life on Earth. And when the time comes and Earth is no longer our home, all of these decades spent researching and gathering information about Mars will pay off for it to become our new home. Thank you.